whoa, the government's shut down. And Republicans are running around going, it's the Democrats' fault, it's the Democrats' fault, it's the Schumer shutdown. But Donald Trump has a way of kind of blowing up his own party's most effective BS messaging. You know, I mean, the simple reality is that Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. When all three parties control, or when one party controls all three branches of government, there has never, ever been a government shutdown. At least to the best of my knowledge, certainly not in the last few decades. And I mean, maybe it happened once back in 1704 or something, but I doubt it, or 1804. But what's interesting is that Donald Trump, now here, just understand this. This is mind-boggling, and what's most mind-boggling to me about it is that the media has not been all over this all morning. And I don't know, maybe some parts of it have, but here's the deal. The Republicans control the House, the Senate, the White House, and the Supreme Court. But the Republicans would tell you they only have 50 votes in the Senate, well, 51 with Mike Pence. So they can only pass things via a majority. So if somebody decides to filibuster something, they need 60 votes. Okay, so far so good. And they're saying, hey, you know, the Democrats are filibustering this thing. They're going to need 60 votes. And, you know, therefore the Democrats are shutting down, or so Republicans are going to need 60 votes to pass, you know, a continuing resolution to fund the government. And therefore, it's all the fault of the Democrats. And everybody in the country is going, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You know, all those years when Mitch McConnell was demanding 60 votes, Barack Obama couldn't get anything done because, you know, it took 60 votes, and the Republicans filibustered everything. Even that brilliant legislation Nancy Pelosi got out of the House that would have reversed the incentives for corporations that sent their jobs overseas. It would have done away with the tax breaks that companies currently get, and in fact, the new tax law actually expanded those tax breaks. Companies even have more incentive today to ship jobs overseas than they had last year. But 5 years ago, Nancy Pelosi actually got a bill out of the House that did away with all those incentives. Said no more tax breaks at all if you move your jobs overseas. And by the way, if you bring those jobs back, we realize there's some costs involved. We'll give you a tax break for bringing them back. It had more than 50 votes in the Senate. It would have passed, but the Republicans filibustered it. And so, you know, the Democrats kind of went along with that. And, well, actually, there were a lot of Democrats saying, hey, wait a minute, Mitch McConnell, this isn't right. So anyhow, here's the deal. The president tweeted out this morning, and this is what's so hysterical about this whole thing. He said, actually he tweeted it out yesterday. He said, great to see how hard Republicans are fighting for our military and safety at the border. The Dems just want illegal immigrants to pour into our nation unchecked. If stalemate continues, Republicans should go to 51% nuclear option and vote on real long-term budget, no continuing resolutions. Now, here's what the president just said. Trump just said, Republicans can pass this stuff. There's no problem with Democrats filibustering things. Mitch McConnell could hold a single vote that only takes 50 votes to win that says, for the course of one day, we're gonna invoke the nuclear option and do away with the filibuster for anything that has to do with, say, keeping the government open. I mean, they can make it very specific. We're going to do away with the filibuster for a day. This has happened, by the way, twice in the last couple of years. President Obama did away with the filibuster on non-Supreme Court judicial appointments so that, you know, he could finally overcome, you know, 6 years of Mitch McConnell's Republican obstruction, or at least try to start to overcome it. The Republicans continue the obstruction. And there's been another one. I believe it had to do with the Supreme Court appointment. I'd have to go back and look, but there have been 2 times now in the last couple of years when the Congress has said, you know, we're going to dial back on the ability of a minority party, in this case would be the Democrats, to filibuster legislation, which is a simple way of saying the Republicans could pass anything they wanted without a single vote from the Democrats. All they'd have to do is invoke the nuclear option like, you know, Harry Reid did and Mitch McConnell has already done. They've just done it around things that have to do with judicial appointments. They could just as easily do it around something that has to do with the budget. In other words, there is no Schumer shutdown. It's you know, arguably impossible. Mitch McConnell has the votes to pull the nuclear option. Mitch McConnell can do it. And Donald Trump has now pointed that out. He's pointed out, Donald Trump has come right out and said in his tweet, all this Sturm and Drang, all these you know, Fox News commentators and right-wingers on radio and TV. It was so funny. I caught a little bit of Stephanie Ruhle this morning on MSNBC, and she was interviewing some Republican, and he's like, well, as long as Democrats insist on shutting everything down, and she wasn't quite pushing back on it. And I was like, oh, give me a break. That's when I flipped the channel to CNN. I was like, give me a break. Come on. You know, you could simply pull the nuclear option. I mean, it's not that, and pass it. You don't need Democrats' votes. You don't need Democrats' votes for the nuclear option. You don't need Democrats' votes for the vote once you've done away with the filibuster, even if just for one day. And by the way, this is the argument that Republicans were making against Democrats for 8 years. Democrats would say, oh, you know, that damn Mitch McConnell, he won't let us pass legislation that would bring our jobs home from China, which was true. And so the Republicans said, well, you know, you've got 50 votes. You got more than 50 votes in the Senate. Why don't you just pull the nuclear option? Come on, you guys, it's your responsibility. Don't whine at us. And it was thing after thing after thing. I mean, this was around reapportionment, around redistricting, you know, gerrymandering. There was a debate around that. There was a debate around taxes. There was a debate around the government negotiating drug prices for Medicare Part D. There was probably 40 or 50 different topics during the, particularly during the first couple of years when President Obama was president, when he had enough votes in the Senate to get a majority on something, but not enough to overcome a filibuster. He could only overcome a filibuster for 74 legislative days out of his entire 8 years. And during the first 2 years, there was, you know, Democratic control of the Senate, but not 60 votes. And every time the Democrats were not capable of overcoming that 60-vote threshold and knocking down what Republicans were saying, the Republicans just said, oh, come on, guys, you still don't control the Senate. You can pull the nuclear option. You can, you know, this isn't our fault. We're not going to let you blame us. And now the media and even Democrats are going, oh, it's our fault, you know, come on. Start pointing out to the Republicans, if you don't like it, pull the nuclear option. If you're that passionate, if you really care that much, if you think what we're doing is wrong, pull the nuclear option, guys. Come on, do what your president is telling you to do. But Mitch McConnell is like, oh, no, we're going to pretend he never even said that because we'd rather play victim. Right. And meanwhile, the government is shut down, and Trump somehow thinks that's going to be a good thing. What we need is a good, clean shutdown. Yeah.